Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the August 26, 2025 Methacton School District Board of Directors meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The public is hereby advised of the audio and video recording of this meeting for the purposes of rebroadcasting. All board members are present with the exception of Ms. Perdue, who will be coming later on this evening. I would like to make an announcement. The property committee of the board met virtually in executive session on August 25th, 2025 to consult with the solicitor on the contract with a third-party vendor. Next is guests and scheduled speakers. Dr. Zerbe.
Thank you, Madam President. But before we begin, I just want to make an announcement. I've been informed by our technology department that there is a YouTube outage that's affecting, I believe, the entire YouTube system. Therefore, this evening's meeting is not being streamed live. However, it is being videotaped, and then it will be uploaded to YouTube when it becomes available. So with that, we're going to move on to guests and scheduled speakers. This evening we have CHA and Schrader. Both of them will be providing an update to answer any questions that we had from last week's meeting. Now, as you recall, we presented the four options from last week. And okay, so we presented the four options from last week, and we are coming back this evening to take any questions that you may have, as well as I believe the team has some updated slides that they want to share with you. So I think at your table, there is a 11 by 17 printout. That's not the right dimension, but it's close. Of the new slides, and then we did ask you to bring the copies of the slides from last. So are we able to put the slides up on the screen? Excellent, thank you.
Thanks. We were just enjoying that ringtone there for a few minutes. Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody. So Devin and I wanted to just do a brief follow-up from last week's presentation. As you recall, we rolled out the options that have been developed from the conceptual design phase. There were a couple comments related to how some of the budget numbers were presented. If you recall previously, we had items that were included under the baseline, and then the four different options for the floor plan options. What we kept saying was above the line is pretty much items that are required for the project, and below the line are optional costs as they were not fully vetted or completely evaluated at that point. The board did have a couple points made regarding modular classrooms or phasing costs to be included in the assumed hard cost numbers. So we've made those adjustments. A couple other minor revisions, I believe. So we wanted to show you an updated summary slide of that budget with those adjustments. What we had done is moved the modular classroom number, which previously had been established at $7 million, and that was assumed at a 20 classroom structure. We have since spoken and kind of reevaluated the options and the available space with the district. We've actually reduced that number to 10 modular classrooms. So that's now at a cost of $3.5 million. That has been included in the baseline scope for you, okay? So that's actually included under, you'll see under the hard costs there, the final item is phasing and modular classrooms, okay? So the 3.5 would be for the modular classroom structure itself. There's also $2 million assigned for various temporary roadways or lay down staging areas, various utility reconnections and adjustments. So that's what makes up the other 2 million of that number. So we did include that, again, under the hard costs. What you will notice is that under options 2A and 2B, those numbers are actually reduced by the cost of the modular classrooms. What we're thinking is, with the extent of new construction under option 2, we can build new spaces first, new classroom spaces first, and then use them as the swing space. So we do still carry some funds for other site-related phasing, as I mentioned about roadways and utility relocations and so forth. But you will see that that number is reduced under option 2, with the assumption that we will not need modular classrooms for that. Also, under the soft costs, we included the data equipment, classroom technology, and furniture, fixtures, and equipment under the soft costs. That would be assuming that everything would be provided new. I think we had it last time under the optional area because we weren't sure what would be reclaimed or reused from the building. So at this point, that is included under soft costs. The other thing that we have done, and we'll go through some visuals in a minute, is with the bottom portion, the additional scope for consideration, we have a better defined visual for you in terms of what the site development costs would include under baseline and what could be included under the optional costs. So with that, I don't know if you guys have these visuals in front of you. So again, under option 1, and it would actually be for the baseline scope, options 1A and 1B. There's a new parking lot, which we're designating lot 5, which would be located at the Farina. After Farina is demolished, there could be a new parking lot 5 established at that point. Lot 7, which would be some minor adjustments to create the new natatorium space. Those are included under options 1A and 1B. Okay? So those, in other words, are items that are necessary for 1A and 1B. We also are showing lot 8 at an additional optional cost of 2.8 million to be added to those options. So, you know, ultimately it could be a bid alternate, or as we continue with the process of updating and budgeting, it could either be added, deducted. We just wanted to show you what is necessary for phase 1, what is optional for option 1A, 1B. With the site option 2, it does get a little bit trickier in that there are some iterations of parking lot layout and access road layouts that can be reworked or tweaked depending on if the Mill Road extension were to happen. So site option 2X is essentially all of the parking lot and access road development west of the building, which we've got tagged at about a $12 million improvement, with an optional Mill Road extension at 2.8 million. However, what that extension will do is enable us to create some improved circulation patterns within that area. So basically that would kind of kick us into the option 2Z layout, which looks mostly similar to the previous one, with the exception of that Mill Road extension and some additional access roads that truly separate the bus, the parent, and the student traffic. So that's really the big advantage of 2Z. It completely separates all 3 traffic patterns. Okay? Devin, would you like to take some of these other ones? Are there any questions on that, or should we keep going, Dr. Zerbe, until we're...
Does the board want to take questions now, or, yeah, we do. Okay. Ms. Graff?
So I just wanted to clarify that when you're talking about 1Z, you have 2.7 million for lot 7 and 1.4 million for lot 5. where is that on the cost estimate? Because I don't see a line item at 4.1, and maybe I'm missing it.
Yeah,
but
so included in the site number are various other site
maybe
improvements.
maybe we go back to the cost estimate slide, might be helpful.
Sure.
That way you can see it up on the screen.
So the slide on the screen is a condensed version of our overall budget, which would be way too detailed in order to project. But the site improvement number is not simply those parking lot improvements and access roads. It includes utilities. It includes establishing the building pad for the additions. It includes the demolition of the existing district office facility. There's also a cost, as I mentioned, for abatement previously. So the abatement demolition is
Okay.
included within that site development number.
So-
there are various costs that aren't necessarily broken
Line
out
item.
separately on that slide.
So it falls into that 4.66 million number, right? Under site improvements, under option 1A and 1B, you have 4.66 million.
Correct. So
The parking areas total up to 4.1. So you're saying all of that other stuff is what's left in that number?
That's correct. And then the only optional, so if we're looking at 1A, for example, with that 4.6, you'll see at the bottom, the optional cost for parking lot 8 is that blue piece in the middle.
Right. I see that. And that's the option for parking lot 8 that you show at the bottom of the list for 2.8 million.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And then if we go over to option 2A and 2B, that is the site option 2X. So on site option 2X, it's $12 million. So we've got a $17,460,000 line item cost. So what is the additional 5.46? Because that's a much bigger differential than for
It is.
1A, 1B.
So for the natatorium addition, for example, there's a number of $1 million simply for building pad preparation, stormwater management, utility relocations. Also for the auditorium and classroom addition portion of that is a site development number of 2.5 million related to similar utility and building pad improvements.
Okay, so we have all the original stuff that we have in 1A and 1B, plus all of the stuff related to the new construction, because the option 2s have much more new construction associated with them. So you've got a lot more stormwater, and you've got a lot more site work to be done.
They do. They don't necessarily include, I mean, they will include the parking areas that would be included under site option 1. It gets, I know it gets complicated. But yes, it will include parking and circulation improvements under site option 2 that would have otherwise been included under
Okay.
option 1.
Okay, I get it. It makes sense to me. It just seemed like the differential was so much bigger.
Yes, and again, a lot of that has to do with the preparation of the additions, not simply the parking lot and access roads.
Okay. And then my second question was just the modular classroom differential. In our previous discussion, the modular classroom phasing was $9 million across the board. And now you're saying it's in the $5.5 million number?
Yes.
Except in 2A and 2B, it's not 5.5 because you could construct the new portion classrooms, so you wouldn't need as many or for as long, or?
That's right.
Okay.
So we had a number for temporary phasing site issues at $2 million previously, and we still do. Previously, with a 20 classroom modular structure, we were at 7 million, so the total was 9 million. We've reduced that to 10 modular classrooms, cutting that number to 3.5, and we still are keeping the 2 million for other site-related phasing. So that's where the 5.5 comes from.
Okay, and then so you still have the 2 million in phasing in options 2A and 2B, but you lose the modular classroom component of that number because you don't need them. You can
Correct.
build the first section of the new wing and then, okay. All right, I got it, thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on what's been presented here this evening so far? To my right, any additional questions? To my left, Mrs. Alston?
Hi, thank you for this. So I have a question about the Mill Road extension, and I just was wondering if we wouldn't do that at this time, would there be an option to do that at another time? And I guess, knowing that once people are on site, it's more cost-effective to do it at the time, but is it an option to do it later? And maybe at what increased cost?
Sure. It certainly would be an option later. I think what we'd want to be cognizant of is any of the other internal patterns that would change with the addition of that extension, we should prepare for somehow in the design up front. That would, I think, be important to keep in mind so we're not completely recreating pathways later.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question is about the administrative building. So we're demolishing that, that's the plan. And I guess I was wondering if we maybe the property committee has, and I apologize if I'm not up to speed on that, but have we looked at having administration on site at the high school as part of this new build? Because I just am concerned that we don't have really a plan for where administration is going to go. And also it seems to me that if administration is at the high school, then it's possible to configure the new high school in such a way that you could use conference rooms or LGI rooms as part of administrative activities that are already there. So you could kind of double duty some of the spaces maybe for administrative purposes. So that's a thought I had. Because I guess I'm a little concerned about the plan is to rent space, but there doesn't seem to be a site picked out, or we don't seem to know where that is. So just, it seems safer maybe, and just a longer term benefit for the district to just know where you're going to be and then not have to worry about spaces being converted or, rent going up too much and, that kind of thing. So and I know with all due respect to people who might not be centrally located to the high school.
Ms. Olson, all excellent questions. Gentlemen, I think that we can answer that probably by either saying you either commandeer a certain amount of space within any of these plans, or you construct additional space to take that. And I forget exactly, Dr. Sergini, are we talking, is it 10,000 square feet, or is it something more that we needed?
Between 10 and 12,000 square feet.
Okay. So Josh, just in summary, if we were to construct another 12,000 square feet for the administrative building, what impact would that have for this type of project?
Well, what we'd want to make sure is that from a phasing perspective, that would certainly be something that we could, assuming it would be vacant, at the start of the project, we could have it demolished and start that parking lot for additional space, additional parking during construction. If we're now putting it into the building, obviously we'd want to construct that piece of it first so that there's a place to go, and that could impact phasing. I think that would be probably the biggest hurdle, obviously with some additional cost for new construction of the space. We'd have to, talk to Schrader and see if we can get creative looking within the existing footprint of spaces, but I would assume there'd have to be some minor addition space for that. But I think really the advantage would be from a phasing perspective, being able to use some additional parking and additional space.
I guess if we had to either commandeer 10,000 to 12,000 square foot of space, we'd either have to take it from the existing space of the high school or from the designs that are already listed here, or we would have to add on to the designs. And my assumption is if we have to add on to the designs, are we talking $400 a square foot, $200 a square foot, and that maybe gives us a perspective of what the cost might be to construct new if we don't commandeer existing space.
Sure.
And then we're going to, from our last week's discussion, Ms. Alston, if you recall, we are going to come back and share what the leasing costs are estimated to be, and we don't have a spot. So I mean, but I think all that information we want to be able to provide for you.
Right, and I think from only a cost perspective, it feels uncertain to lease space, in my opinion, but also to have the administration on site, then, when families are coming to register, when you're, talking to the community, or you have people coming and seeing the space, I mean, it'd obviously be a separate entrance and that kind of thing, but it just seems to be integrated with one of the buildings makes sense to me, because that, instead of removed from one of our buildings, so from just a community perspective, it makes sense to me, but, so I'm just raising that point.
I mean, it's an excellent point, because I think, one of our consultants at some point in the process clearly articulated the fact that if we're going to put the central administration into the high school, we'd have to do it as part of the construction of the new high school, and that, adding something on later isn't going to be, for central administration, isn't going to be an option. Renovating within the existing high school in the future could be an option to put the central administration there, but no new construction would be able to work that out.
And I would just be interested to see from a cost perspective, because I know rents have been going up, maybe not as much for commercial, but I know, there's been a lot of increase in rents lately. And if you project that out, is it really cost beneficial to be leasing space for such a long term? I understand if you want to lease space for a couple years while this is going on or something like that. It just doesn't seem, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I think we all need to take a look at that, and we want to bring that forward. We did that many, many months ago, but we want to get some updated figures so that we have at least the most current information. So we're in contact with a realtor to get us some of that information, and we're starting to look at sites just as ideas. Was there anything else that you had? Okay. Were there any other questions up to this point on the presentation? Seeing none, we'll have you guys move on.
All right. Thank you. Excuse my voice. It sounds like I've been sick for a while. I feel better than I sound. So these next couple of slides will be quick. The first one here is the priority group 3. If you remember, all of these items were voted on back in, I think it was April, and these items did not make it onto 1 or 2, but they did receive a vote from at least one of you. So these items are still being considered. We just wanted to bring them back to your attention. Things like, updating interior architectural finishes are being considered as kind of a separate package. The addition of natural light and windows in some of the options are certainly being considered. We're trying to retain the courtyard and create outdoor spaces. Some of the other items are a little bit more difficult to do, and we have to kind of talk through some of those things. For instance, the transportation center. But just wanted to bring this back to everybody's attention, just to note that we are thinking about these. And as we move through the process, we will have to revisit some of these.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, the other thing that we wanted to make sure that we do is make sure that we kept those things in front of you. So as we're getting closer to whatever that option or that, the decision point will be, you might be able to filter some of these things in if you so choose to. So we wanted to make sure it was available. So we'll keep it as an addendum throughout the presentation so that you're reminded that these are some other things that we can consider as we're trying to drive towards the final decision. Devin?
Correct. The next slide is about ADA improvements. There was a comment at the end of last meeting about some of our presentation about the ADA scope. We just wanted to clarify that for everyone. The district has been pretty clear to include some of the ADA improvements as part of the baseline scope. So we know that not all options are going to require ADA improvements, but we are including them just as part of the baseline because it is a priority for the district. So some items include updating all the entry doors to classrooms and toilet rooms to be ADA compliant. We are also reconfiguring the locker rooms and toilet rooms that are not currently compliant to be ADA compliant in all of the options. So that's part of the baseline scope. And then any new construction would obviously be ADA compliant, and any areas of reconfiguration, so that was that orangey colors on the plans, those are all also going to be upgraded to be ADA compliant. So we're not addressing the entire building, but we're getting the stuff that we can easily do as part of a renovation project. hopefully that provides a little bit of clarity.
Yes, so let's just stop for a second. Are there any questions on ADA or anything that we're talking about with respects to that? Ms. Perdue?
I think I raised some of this when we talked about the priority group items before when we saw this list, and I still wanted to follow back. So when we say keep these in front of us, and I understand some of them, like relocating the transportation center, that's fine, but I'll go back to my original comment in reference to some of them, just because I don't know, like when we say separation of public spaces from classroom spaces, with the renovation or whatever, any of these options, is that something that's not considered, or is that something, and I'm thinking, and I'm pulling out like the basic ones that I'm thinking, like addition of natural light windows, maybe not everywhere, but some of those I think are still feasible. So I just want to understand how this priority group 3 are we able to break it up a little bit more also?
Well, we can break it up certainly, but it's also something that we want to consider as we move into a project. For instance, the natural light that you just mentioned, is it possible to certainly add natural light to spaces with even an option 1? Sure, we can easily add some natural light into certain spaces. As we start to get into separating public spaces from the classroom spaces, you'll see that as part of, I think it's option 2A, and maybe especially 2B, where we really bring the public spaces into one area and bring the classroom spaces to the other areas, where we can totally lock down the building when you have a public event. So we are addressing some of these just naturally, but it's certainly worth discussing as we move forward with whatever option you choose.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. I think for me, it may be nice to just see what is feasible, even if it's like, I think like how you just said with the separation of public spaces and classroom, that's feasible with 2A and more with 2B. I think I would like to see that also just when we're considering the options, just because some of these things I think we thought was helpful and needed for our school. So I just want to make sure if there's a little bit to break it down, even if it's just identify what option fits in more to address some of it than not.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
We can certainly say, it's possible in all of these options and not possible in some of the other options, if that helps. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you. Ms. Alston?
I just had a question about the ADA, and I was wondering if in this process, I don't even know if it's possible in the way the hallways are configured, but I know we have a lot of sort of half stairs and the elevators that go. Is there any way to address that through any of this? Because, I'm thinking about, because I think the elevators, do you need a key for those right now? So someone attending here who's disabled couldn't use the restroom, so just, I have concerns and about those. So I would like to see just those, at least those little elevator rides being addressed, because I think they are probably very inconvenient for people who need to use them.
Absolutely. And we can certainly look at what it would take to accomplish those things. Obviously, the things that you're mentioning are going to require significant costs to get things like elevators or lifts into those spaces, but those are the items that we're addressing that are a little bit more easily accomplished. If that makes any sense.
I guess what I'm saying is that I know there's some that going from the first floor to the second floor, yes, you would need an elevator because there's not like a continuous ramp, but is there a way to make some of these areas that we have less reliant on elevators? Is there a way to put ramps in, or another way to configure the spaces? And I don't know if it's possible at all, but I'm just thinking about the best practices of ADA, which is not an elevator.
Correct, yeah. And I think it's something to discuss internally. Obviously, if we put that in the baseline scope, those baseline costs are going to go up pretty quickly. But maybe it's an option we pull out as a separate line item.
Are any other comments on priority 3 or ADA? Seeing none? Go ahead.
Okay. Just two quick more slides. You've already seen the schedule from the last meeting. We just wanted to reiterate that there are several meetings coming up in September and all working towards that board meeting. Hopefully there's a vote in October on the 28th. And the last slide here shows what would happen if you do vote on a project in October. A schedule could look something like this. I'm not going to guarantee that this is not going to change, but we would be voting to move into schematic design. If we do vote in October, we go through schematic design the last part of 2025. And that means we're confirming the building program. We're really finalizing all the locations of the spaces in the buildings, the sizes of those spaces, and the general scope of the renovations that are going to happen inside the building, and beginning the township approval process. Then we would move into design development through the first half of 2026. That's when we're really meeting with all the end users, the staff, the students, the administration, designing all of those individual spaces, more intensive material selections, finishes for inside. If there's any additions, we select the finishes for the exterior. We continue those land development discussions with the township. And then we get into the MEP and structural systems, get everything kind of organized and coordinated. And then we move into construction documents. That's when we really start to refine all of our details and get things ready to go out to bid. That process would probably last through most of 2026. We're saying about November, so that you can get into a bid process end of 2026 and hopefully receive bids the first part of 2027. That's if everything runs smoothly and all the processes are in place. Then you could potentially start construction as early as March of 27, which would likely last through December of 2029. So we're still a ways out. It's about 1.5 years of the design and approval process and bidding, and then we get into several years of construction because of the phasing of the renovation project. So we'll take any questions, I think, at this point.
Any questions for members to my left on any of the schedule? Ms. Chanda?
Have there been any communications that have gone out about the public forum?
Yes, there was communication both on social media and through email blasts about both of the forums, and we plan to do other individualized postings for that as well. Ms. Alston?
Just about the public forum, and just about this in general, the communication, I think you have a real opportunity at back to school nights to hand out flyers about these events with the schedule. I know that I think the high school, the older high school is maybe the last one on the 25th, so it'll be after, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to engage with parents in the district on those.
Thank you. Anything else to my left? Ms. Perdue?
Just a quick one. The one scheduled for the 9th, where's the location for it? I'm sorry, the 11th.
I believe the 11th is at Skyview Library.
Good planning. Just wanted to make sure of traffic.
Any questions on the schedule to my right? Mr. Winters?
Not schedule, but I have a couple of questions that sort of didn't fit anywhere. I think the deeper dive on the financials on some of these is something that I would like to take back to the Finance Committee. The next layer down, for example, getting a better understanding of the site improvements as you explained. I see that when you were talking to Ms. Graff, you explained how the lot number 8 or something moved from an optional and it actually ends up being a choice that moves into the core cost. And just being able to understand that clearer, because I think there's opportunities here for us to evaluate again what our priorities are. So I'll speak to one that I don't agree with. I understand we voted for, but one was related to the size. At this point, if we just went with the 1A and 1B, and 1B included correcting the size of the classrooms that were undersized on the second floor, to me, I would like to know what that cost is, because to me, it's an option, not necessarily we list it as a priority, but it might be something we take back to board and say, based on X amount, that may be something that we don't need to do at this particular time. I realize if we do a new education wing, that solves itself, but if we're looking at it. So anyway, the point of trying to understand some of the next level of financial details is what I'd like to see, at least a discussion of the finance.
Would you like me to invite the CHA to?
I think so, it would be helpful.
Thank you.
I think also understanding some of the costs, for example, what is the cost to repair our parking lot? They did a fantastic job up at Arcola this summer. I forgot what that cost was, but that probably is a cost that we are going to have to incur at the high school soon, right? So what is the incremental cost, on something that we're going to have to repair or do something to, and then maybe whatever. So understanding some of these are not just on-off switches is, I guess, my point here. It's not that we're going to never do anything to the asphalt at the high school. We might have to repair it. So that would be the last thing. And then the other last quick question is around the Farina. I know Dr. Sagini said $10,000 to $12,000, but last week you indicated that the data center from Farina would be incorporated in the high school, I assume even with just 1A. So
Yes.
So I'm not sure how that's done, but that's okay. You guys could tell us some other time. But the bottom line is does that change the quantity of square footage requirements at the high school for Farina that would be needed to add to the high school or lease somewhere else?
The 10 to 12,000 square foot number does include that area, so it would be reduced by some small number. However, it also includes all of the functional space for technology on the lower floor, as well as registration. So it's at least 10,000 square feet, but somewhere between 10 and 12.
So it's the movement of the data center, not movement of the IT department?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Any other questions to my right? To my left? Are there any other, there's any new information that we want to share? We've shared it all, okay. So are there any other comments or questions, or how shall we, do we want to proceed in discussing this a little further, or do we need time to absorb some of the information? Do we need to, do things like have more in-depth conversations at the Finance Committee about some of the cost, more in-depth conversations at the Property Committee meeting with some of the options? I'm just looking for some guidance to help move this process forward. Ms. Graff?
So I guess I want to make sure that we have strong public awareness. So I see on the slide, we have the public forums identified. We don't have times and locations. So I think that it was already noted by Ms. Purdue, but I think that the slides need to get updated and posted with the date, time, and location so that that's a source of information. I think that it should be on the front of our webpage. I love the idea of handing it out at back to school night. I think there's no reason why we cannot send it home with every child in the district as like a starting point, right? Like, it's 2 weeks away. So if a mailer hasn't gone out already, then we have to send this out like as soon as possible. And, I get that there's one on the 18th as a backup option, but if people are planning on, coming to something on the 11th, we need to let them know. And I'm not sure that we've given enough effort around that yet. And so I just want to understand, like, what are you going to do in the public forum?
The public forums, our understanding is it'd be very similar to the presentation that Devin and I did last week, incorporating the updates that we talked about tonight and any other updates or clarifications that we can make along the way as questions come in to us.
And then there's going to be an opportunity for questions. You're going to respond to questions on the spot. Like, how is that going to go?
We will take your lead on that. We're certainly happy to respond to questions, but if you choose to just record them, I think last time under the new option, basically we recorded questions. I'm not sure that all were responded to at that moment, but at some point they were followed up on formally. So again, I'll defer to the district on how you'd like to handle that. I'm sure that Schrader Group and we'd be happy to answer any questions that we're able to on the spot.
So is it possible for us to treat this like a public meeting where you would record the public meeting and in a meeting document that would then have all of the Q&A included in it and it would be posted somewhere? So if you couldn't attend, you could hear the on-the-spot responses, and you could also, the district could provide answers to anything that we needed to follow up on. I guess my concern is there could be questions that get raised that we don't have the answer in real time, but then where does that answer get documented for somebody to find later? I mean, in some public meetings, you have essentially someone who is actually recording and they give you a transcript of the meeting. Is that, I mean, I'm just trying to understand how we're going to make sure that people can understand what's happening at these meetings.
Yeah, I think we're likely to follow some of the same processes we did under the new construction, but if there's other things that that the board thinks we ought to do above and beyond that, we certainly can do that. So in the past, or in the new construction conversation, we took on-the-spot questions. We also allowed people to submit questions via index card. Following that, and then we answered those questions online from the website. We did not hold any video of those presentations, so that would be something new, and that's certainly something we can do.
So I guess and I understand, we're talking about something that's coming up here quickly, but is it possible for us to televise those meetings so that people can tune in and hear the Q&A part? Can we put our architect and engineer in these seats and have the meeting, in a way that they can be answering their questions in real time? And that part gets presented. When you're standing at the podium and someone is watching this, it's very difficult sometimes to hear. It's not the same as you presenting directly.
Well, I'm willing to do whatever the board thinks that we ought to do in order to make sure that, A, we can convey the information to as many people as possible, and B, to allow for input in the process as much as possible. So certainly we can talk about what those options would look like this evening, or we can, if by the end of this week, any board member can give me a call or email me with what they think the suggestions are, and I'll be working with our communications coordinator to coordinate that effort, and then work with the development team to make that happen.
Okay.
Other questions or comments regarding the high school information that's been provided either last week or this week? Mr. Mears?
So just one, these four building layout options and corresponding ground layout options, is it feasible, or would you consider it feasible to do them in any of them or all of them in phases? In other words, I mean, the way you present this starts in 18 to 24 months and finishes the end of 2029. Would it be possible in some of these, I know it would vary for each one, but that you do part of what's proposed and then at a later date implement the second phase?
Yes, certainly. In fact, that's something that we did approach the township with a request. Would that be something that they would entertain at some point? And the answer was yes. Certainly a site master plan is definitely on the table. Obviously, we want to provide enough parking day one for what you need. Stormwater management would have to be factored into the worst case scenario master plan, but it definitely could be phased over a number of years, yes.
Thank you.
Other question, Ms. Perdue?
I do see that we're keeping the Methacton High School planning timeline updated on the website, so I think that's helpful. And to your point, it do have the dates and times and location for the public forum. I think it should be it should include the property committee meeting, since we're tracking it on here as one of the key timelines for it. And then in addition, I think Mr. Winter's point about the finance committee meeting also. So if that could be included on here as part of the timeline for it, that would be helpful.
We certainly can do that. And just so everyone knows, we have actually two timelines. We have a very detailed timeline, and then we have a timeline that we've been posting out. But if we would like to put those committee meetings on there, we certainly will do that. Any other, Ms. Thiel?
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry if this was asked. What is the timing of the public forum on the 11th with compared to back to school night for the high school? Because it's the 9 to 10 back to school night.
I'm thinking we're starting at 7:30. Yeah.
Is there? I'm just wondering if there's an overlap there.
Well, back to school night, I believe, is 6:30 when it starts.
6:30 to 7:30.
I'm not.
Yeah, it's probably longer. So there would be an overlap. So those might be parents who, if they wanted to go, I guess they'd have to look for the other one. So I just wanted to make that connection. And is there a plan? Is it there's social media post planned?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Alston?
Yeah, I just, in terms of communication of the public forums, I would just also want to make sure we're getting into areas that are not necessarily people with school-age children or in the district, that we're making a valiant effort to send something out to Shenandoah as well as other taxpayers in the district.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Cleary?
I have a question, Devin. I have a question for you. I'm leaving communication now, and when I was looking at these, your pictures from the last week's meeting on option 2A, I wanted to better understand where the entrance is. It looks to me like, I just want you to help me understand. It looks to me like it's between a new performing arts and the new wing of classrooms, and it looks like a box with a if performing arts is here, the roof looks like it's here. What is the space that you were thinking about there?
Are we able to pull up the previous presentation?
I'm thinking not, which is why I was trying to describe it.
Can we pull up the one from the 19th?
Does this have a laser on it?
It's going to be one of the pictures, I think.
You're talking about the video that we showed?
It's slide 24.
I think that was one of the videos.
Oh, it's from the video?
Last week's meeting.
You could probably just explain it to me from the slides from tonight.
Yes, you're looking at it correctly. The entrance is now a little bit more facing Germantown Pike. So it's in between the new performing arts wing and the new classroom wing, which comes down. The classroom wing is directly off of the current main entrance. So we're basically moving it over to the left of the main entrance, and it's in between that classroom wing and performing arts. And that little piece that you see is a new secure entry. So that's where we're moving the administrative area of the high school over to that side, so you can come in and check in through that part of the building.
Okay, and then in option, that's 2A, and then in option 2B, that slides.
Oh, sorry, that was 2B.
That was 2B.
2A, the entrance remains at the same location
As today?
as today. You're building a new classroom wing where B wing is. The new performing arts wing is out in the front of the building where the west wing is, and your main entrance stays right adjacent to your current administrative suite.
Okay, okay.
There's a corridor that comes out and brings people as a little lobby to the performing arts, but your main entrance is still in that same location.
Okay, so then when I'm looking at in the picture, when I said performing arts is up here, and then there's this smaller roof, that's still part of the performing arts, is it?
That's just a lobby to get to the performing arts space.
Okay.
But it is part of the main entrance.
I'm glad you clarified that, because I really did think there was a new entrance. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the design team? Ms. Graff?
So just to clarify, the performing arts entrance here
Yes.
is not the main entrance, which is currently over here, right?
The main
So
en-
this is an entrance.
That is
but
the
it
main entrance.
It will be the new main
It
entrance.
is the current main entrance and it will
So
remain.
because you're taking this whole wing off.
Correct.
You're creating this new entry.
Correct.
Corridor.
Correct.
So so the main entrance is currently back here.
It's further up towards the
Right.
building, but we're bringing it out
Okay.
of the front of the building.
Because everything will squish in closer. You're moving the
Yes,
performing
all of
arts
the west
closer
wing
in.
goes away.
Yep.
Performing arts comes right where west wing is.
Okay, just wanted to clarify, because it
Yes.
was a little confusing as we were looking at the picture. So thanks.
Any other questions to my left? To my right? Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you, members of the board. That ends the guests and scheduled speakers for this evening, and we'll go into reports.
Attached is the report for the property committee. From the MCIU this month, Ms. Purdue.
The MCIU will be meeting tomorrow, so I'll provide an update September.
Thank you. From North Monco, Ms. Alston and Mr. Mursky.
Thank you. The Joint Operating Committee met on Monday, August 18th. We have 134 more students attending North Monco. Enrollment went from 1,064 to 1,198. We looked at our waitlist numbers and discussed the process for optimizing student enrollment in their program of choice. And we also discussed our ongoing facilities plan to maximize enrollment and future facilities and building improvement needs. And other than that, all agenda items listed were approved by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to communications. Thank you, Mrs. Thurbeck.
Good evening. So today I had the pleasure of attending Methacton High School and Worcester Elementary for the first day, and it was really great to see all the staff and the students super excited. We gathered videos and photos from all across the district, and we put together a little video on our social media pages. I encourage everyone to check it out. It's pretty fun. It's nice to see all the smiling faces. So we're kicking off the school year with some opportunities to engage the community. Dr. Zerby and the Methacton Education Foundation are once again teaming up for the morning bus tour. They'll be stopping at bus stop locations to greet families and students before they start their day. So keep an eye out for them in the coming weeks. Additionally, we're going to be bringing back our coffee chats with Dr. Zerby this fall. We're switching things up a bit to provide new opportunities to meet with and hear from our students this time. We're also excited to have a table at Worcester's Community Day. That is September 27th, and we're looking forward to joining Lower Providence's fall event as well. Each of our schools, as we mentioned, would be holding a back-to-school night for families in September. You can find all that information on our school's website calendars. I also want to remind everyone that our website calendars are a great place to stay informed all year long about upcoming events. And one more thing to keep an eye out for this fall, we're rebranding our monthly district-wide community conversations newsletters. They're going to be more mission-focused, so that means in addition to announcements and upcoming events, we'll be highlighting more projects, activities, and classroom experiences from all over the district. The goal is to really showcase Methacton's mission and our core values and show them come to life in our newsletter. So you can see that starting in September. And finally, I just want to remind everyone our fall community education programs are open for registration. For adults, we have yoga, tai chi, meditation, and more, and a ton of after-school programs and swim lessons for our kids. But those spots are filling up fast, so if you are interested, you should register now. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And we'll now hear from the foundation, Ms. Donna Pergolini.
We want to first welcome back our students, and we hope you saw all of our first day signs over social media. It was great to see all the kids and the parents posting. We're thrilled to kick off another school year, and thanks to amazing generosity last year, we were able to donate over $200,000 back to the Methacton School District. This investment in our students' future, and we're so excited to see what they accomplish. We have a lot of great things coming up, and we'd love for everyone to be a part of them. First, our Race Back to School 5K is on Sunday, September 21st at Hebner Park. All of the proceeds go to the backpack program. So whether you walk, run, or volunteer, you'll be supporting a great cause. There's also a special code for all staff, so check your email to sign up. And it's at methactonfoundation.org/5K. Mark your calendars for the Apex Awards. They're on Wednesday, November 19th at Jeffersonville. There's no Eagles game. We'll be announcing this year's honorees soon, and tickets will go on sale September 1st. And for our staff, the fall grant cycle is now open. If you have a creative idea that needs funding, we want to hear from you. Also, keep an eye out for our homecoming event on October 3rd, hosted by our Alumni and Friends group, and the Dodgeball Tournament is March 15th, 2026. Good luck this year, and we're looking forward to a great school year.
Thank you very much. It sounds like we've got a packed calendar for us, so thank you for all that you do. And the superintendent's report, Dr. Zerby.
Thank you, Madam President. Aside from the items that are listed on the agenda, I just want to thank all of our support staff, our contracted bus drivers, our contracted food service workers, and of course our teachers and administrators for getting us to a wonderful start of the 2025-2026 school year. It's been, where's some wood? It's been...
right here.
Yeah, okay. It's been a really awesome start, and I want to thank all of them individuals that have been supportive and making an easy start happen. Certainly, we'll have issues with transportation, and so, as we do normally on a year, just with stops and little things like that. But it's been a really good start. So I want to thank all of the staff, all of our core contracted providers, and our school community for supporting a great start. So thank you.
Thank you. I will note that my bus was arrived on time and dropped off on time. Very impressed by Mr. Larry, the bus driver. So, lovely gentleman. All right, now we'll move to public comment on board action items. The board will now take comments on board action items. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on matters that are to be decided upon as outlined on the agenda. The board asks that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. The Board of School Directors may choose to respond to matters following the conclusion of the comments on board action items.
Jim Malik, Worcester. Methacton Utopia. It's incredible. Nothing ever goes wrong here. It's crazy. I'm going to talk about the position descriptions. I'm going to start with the Belonging and Climate Facilitator. I'm just going to read this. The Belonging and Climate Facilitator is responsible for developing, planning, facilitating, and supporting programs, activities, and systems that help to foster inclusive, there's one part of it, respectful and cohesive environment across the organization, particularly educational settings. And it's also there to support equity. There's number 2. So this is like a DEI person, whoever this person is. So I think you should change the name to the Social Engineering and Indoctrinator Facilitator. Okay, because that's basically what it is. How much are we paying this person? I don't see any salary. I don't see what the cost is. Can you tell us what we're paying them? What metrics are you going to use for this person to determine whether they've actually done anything beneficial? What are the metrics? Seems to me the only reason this person is on board is to make you guys feel good. Show me the data where it correlates with increased test scores, grades, college admissions, anything academic. Somebody give me some stats on what this person is going to do to improve all of them. Because the problem here is we need to work on this up front. You guys are the biggest offenders of non-inclusivity. I've seen bullying from boards past and present, bullying other board members, bullying members of the public, and this thing is heavy on bullying. How do you possibly go after kids bullying when you folks are not a whole lot, some of you folks are not a whole lot better? These rules and regulations and indoctrination should apply to everybody sitting up front. Ms. Austin was like throwing us a bone going, hey, by the way, we should actually include, some of the taxpayers like Shenandoah in all your communications, which selectively go to students, teachers, parents, administrators. That's what happened with your Methacton High School Planning Commission. You had those things in there for email blasts. They're not coming to me. They're going to your group of parents, teachers, administrators, and everybody else. I know that for a fact. Plus, same thing with social media. Senior citizens aren't on that. So you guys have excluded the people that are paying for all of this. So you need to rethink what you're doing.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Yes.
I'm short. Wait a minute. Good evening. Winnie Hayes from Worcester. I may be out of order a little bit because I have really some questions and the architects and so forth have gone, but let me just voice them. Can I do that or not?
The thing is that it's not on the agenda for a vote, so it could be something you could put into at the end.
Okay.
The comments are only for things that we'll be voting on in this part of the meeting.
Okay.
But in courtesy of the floor.
So I will make a comment about that position. I'm not a fan of DEI. I also have issues with it. I think it is in many ways discriminatory. And I think we're looking at how we're spending our money. How we spend it is really, really important. And I would like to know what the salary of that person is. And I'd like the board to really think through, is this a position we really have to fill? Is it going to make a difference in terms of what our kids walk out with as far as their academic preparation, their career readiness preparation? So I just want to express concern about that. I do have concern about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for public comment at this time? Seeing none, I will move to board meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the June 17th, 2025 work session on July 22nd and the July 22nd, 2025 regular board meetings as attached? Ms. Alston, may I have a second? Ms. Purdue, any comments or questions? Seeing none.
Madam President, if you could just a moment. I just wanted to double check what particular minutes you were indicating. Because
it has here June 17th and July 22nd.
I think we have July 22nd as listed on the agenda.
That's right.
So.
Okay. So just put the July 22nd.
We're going to only approve July 22nd. And then I'll review what that might be.
Yep, I apologize. Sounds good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So may I have a motion to approve the July 22nd board meetings as attached? And we said Ms. Alston and Ms. Purdue. Any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Now we'll move on to fiscal items.
There are 4 fiscal items on the agenda for your approval tonight. There has been one addition from last week, item 9C, settlement agreement.
Great. May I have a motion to approve all fiscal items as presented? Mr. Winters, may I have a second? Ms. Graff, any comments or questions? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Ms. Shonda, I just want to make sure. That's okay. You're good. Are you for? Yes. Okay. Motion passes 9-0. Thank you. Now to personnel items.
Thank you, Madam President. The personnel items include those presented last week, as well as the following additions. There is one resignation administrator, Gerald Thompson, assistant principal at Arcola, resignation for retirement after more than 7 years of dedicated service to the students of Methacton. Throughout his time at Arcola, Jerry has been a steady presence and a strong advocate for students. He brought with him a deep commitment to creating a safe, supportive, and engaging learning environment. Whether working with students to help them reach their potential, supporting teachers in the classroom, or partnering with families, Jerry has always placed the needs of children at the center of his work. Jerry is known for his approachable leadership style, his reliability, and his genuine investment in the success of our school community. His presence will be greatly missed in the hallways of Arcola, and the Methacton family wishes him well in his retirement. There's one resignation classified, Caitlin Hopick, paraprofessional at Arrowhead. One employment classified, Fadi Zachary, from custodial casual on-call to second shift custodian at Arcola Skyview. We welcome Fadi officially to the Methacton family. There are two changes of status classified, Luciana Bove, from personal care assistant at Arcola to office assistant at Arcola, and Hijay Gerhab from office assistant at Worcester to library assistant at the high school. We thank Lucy and Hijay for taking on these new roles. There are the additions of supplemental contracts for morning monitoring at the high school and board meeting support, and the addition of Kerry Drum as community education pool manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve all personnel items as presented? Yes, Ms. Shonda.
Can we remove 10D5?
Separated out from 10D5.
Yes, that's what I meant. Thank you.
10D5? Where am I seeing the, oh, I see 10Ds. Do I have a different, sorry. I apologize. I have just a different one here on me, so 10D5, okay.
Am I looking at the right one? Okay.
All right, apologize, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We'll take that one out. So again, may I have a motion to approve all personnel items as listed with the exception of 10D5? Okay, Ms. Graff, may I have a second? Ms. Alston? All right, comments or questions? Yes, Mr. Winters.
Yeah, I did not look at the attachment associated with the morning supplemental contract. Dr. Sergini is my spouse on that.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on that? Yes, Ms. Purdue?
I do just want to say thank you to Mr. Thompson, just because I know he was in Arcola the last 2 years with my son, and he was very helpful as assistant principal there, and wish him well in the next career or whatever he do after retirement. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries to 9-0. We will now move to, may I have a motion to approve the personnel item 10D5 as listed? Ms. Alston, may I have a second? Ms. Purdue? All right, any comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Alston.
Just a comment on the job description and, when it comes to creating a sense of belonging in the schools, there are multiple studies that prove that creating such a sense of belonging does lead to increased academic performance, a psychological sense of well-being, and plays a really important role in students' psychological outcomes and behavior as well. So I am in support of this job description, and I think it is needed in the school to show that every student belongs here, and that is what we stand for. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Shonda.
Just for clarification, I support the role. I support what we're trying to achieve with a sense of belonging in our schools. I just still feel strongly that we need to look at the organization and focus of the way that the description is written right now and reorganize it.
Mrs. Steele.
Thank you. I do have some comments prepared to say before we vote, and I do not say them lightly. I know that I worked on the committee that worked on, or not the committee, but a small group that worked on the description of this job, and I still think it needs more work myself. This is a job that I definitely don't take it lightly. I also don't take the spending of taxpayer dollars to get it wrong again. Not that we had it wrong the first time, but we're looking at this again and have been looking at it on and off for years. As I have listened to the discussions of the board and as I have processed some feedback that I've gotten as this position has been posted on online with the upcoming agendas, I want to say that I do still feel strongly that connecting literacy with belonging is very important, especially with the work with our district, as well as the training and the need to be able to respond and lead and analyze the data of the district. Making those connections isn't novel, it's actually vital in the work of a school district with belonging. Just as our diversity is a gift, and I mean that in every single sense of the word, the science of reading and learning, which is not just touch reading, it talks on learning too. It also recognized that some skills that there are some skills for all human beings that must be explicitly and systematically taught to master. We are at a place in our district where we are doing that work right now, and it needs support at every level, including belonging, and it supports belonging. To paraphrase the work of Zaretta Hammond, who is at the front of the work of belonging in school districts, she is the author of Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain. The science of learning, including the science of reading, is essential to promoting instructional equity. To quote her, this work is key to disrupting what is known as what she calls cognitive redlining. It's more than just voice and choice. It is discussion, it is our words and our choices, and it's working on how we have relationships, but many students also need help with information processing, and that crosses all cultures, all definitions of diversity, and all types of learners, and all content areas. I also pull from and have reviewed our public-facing data on PA REAP. And if you look, even if I just were to discuss our data at the high school level, while overall we are a high-performing district, if the statewide average on the keystones in the 2023-24 school year was 53.9%. Some of our diversity stats were not at the statewide average. That includes students with disabilities were 33.3%, economically disadvantaged was 47.8%, this is all proficient, Hispanic was 52.4%, and Black was 28.6%. Those with combined ethnicity were 48.6%. I say this because as a district, we have to acknowledge where we stand right now, and this is why I think this role still needs work. Also, to paraphrase the leader in equity and literacy, Kareem Weaver, without equitable literacy practices, belonging, and equity and inclusion misses the mark. Because students who have the right words and the right phrases and the correct ways to relate to each other, they will still struggle if they are struggling academically due to literacy practices. And that's just talking about literacy, which we have identified as a district as a priority this year. It's for these reasons that I think this position still needs work. The position needs a person who is versed in data analysis for school districts, someone who can look at equitable literacy practices with the science of learning across all content areas, and also someone who can connect the analysis of data and student behavior and culture and climate with what is going on in our curriculum and communicate that across levels and areas in the district. These are leadership qualities, and in my experience in the education system of Pennsylvania, there are only a few certifications that have that, and only a few courseworks that have that analysis of data and leadership. This is why I think this position needs some more discussion before approval, to be honestly, For me to vote on it, it does not mean I don't support the position. It means I think it needs still needs work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, Mrs. Graff?
Yeah, I guess I just want to say that I agree with everyone who's already spoken in terms of my agreement that this is an important position for the district and that belonging is something we want in our schools, and we want our kids to have this type of support system. However, there were a couple of things that came up last week that were discussed that I was hoping to see in a revised job description. And in particular, things like measurable goals and clear understanding of the objectives of the position. And I'm not sure that we got there with the way the description is currently written. I also really thought it was important to potentially open this position up to a non-school district person, someone who could come with perspective of how these positions may have been implemented in business, where they're working with people that are adults, and then taking that experience and bringing it to the district. It could have provided an opportunity for us to get a very different perspective than the one that we've had, bringing in people who've come from these types of positions in school districts, which haven't worked out really well for the district. So for the two reasons of not having my comments incorporated into this position, I'm going to have to not support this position description as it's currently proposed, despite my desire to have this position in the district. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Winters?
There was a question related to the anticipated salary. Can somebody answer that for the public?
Sure. This is a MEA position, so it will be found within the salary matrix. It'll depend on years of experience, along with credits that the person may obtain and credits that they may obtain, but it would follow that salary structure.
Okay, so Dr. Regina, I suspect that we are not going to get somebody that's coming out of Kutztown, last year graduate, as a bachelor's step 2. But the reality is the salary range is somewhere between $61,000 and $118,000 or something like that. I don't know exactly what it is, but somewhere in that range is what the answer is. Is that
61 to 116? That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Perdue?
And then just for clarification, I think the reason why it was stated that the salary is not indicated on here is because this is just a job description that is brought before the board for review or alignment, and for the board to vote on for it to go forward. And that salary will be determined based on the candidate and, like you said, MEA position. And I just want to say, I think it's unfortunate that we sit here at the start of the school year, today being the first day of school, and still having to discuss this position. I think all board directors sitting at this table do support ensuring that all our students at Methacton feel a sense of belonging. I can't see myself walking in day in and day out into a place where I don't feel I belong. And I don't think any of our students should feel that way. And that's where we were going with this position. There's a few things that I think we talked about this position extensively last week. And I think almost all board members here provided some input as far as the job description. The job description that we received was updated to reflect 2 minor modifications. One was in reference to removing of the special ed, and then another one was in reference to the term that that person have to get their training within a certain time. I believe it was 3, and it was updated to 2. I think when we talked about it, just based on the core description of the job, there were a lot of things, and I think when we left here last time, it was made that there's a way that we can have it organized. That wasn't done. What I was told that it was taken away too much from it. That signifies to me that we were not in a position to have this job description here for the board, and several board members have stated. I think because it sounds like everybody do support having this position, and it's just a matter of the job description, I think it was worthwhile, or it is worthwhile in my view, that this job description is updated to reflect the comments provided by the board. And if a week wasn't enough time, it should have been removed from the agenda and then provided enough time for it. And then, so I will ask again, where do we take the job description now if it's not voted on by the board? And we can wait till the board vote, but it sounds like there's a majority of members on this board that do not currently support the current way the job description is, right? And they've stated they support the work that needs to be done, because I think all our students need to feel they belong each day when they walk into our doors. I think we all should support that. Whether we're in a community, whether we have students here in faculty, we should all feel a sense of belonging. Even adults, even board members, we all owe it to ourselves. So if we've ever displayed behaviors that exemplify that we don't support each other, or we excluded people, then, that onus is on us, and we owe it to ourselves to also exemplify those behaviors. And we all could learn from having a position like this. So I think it is a critical position. We've tried it. I think this has been ongoing since I came on the board, started with the work that we started with a consultant to get us here, to identify that based on everything that Methacton is doing, we could benefit from having a position like this. If we're at the crossroads where we feel this position is not where it needs to be to serve Methacton, I think it's worth us having the opportunity to make sure this job description is vetted out and include the comments that were provided by the board. And as it is currently, that wasn't done.
Any other comments? Ms. Alston?
Yeah, thank you for your comments. I feel like, I guess what I'm afraid of is that we table this, or we take another look at it, and then we come back next month really with only minor modifications, or kind of no better off than where we are now. We have looked at this job description for weeks, if not really months, and with input from like a few board members, then all the board members. It's been in memos, it's been talked about in person, it's talked about in meetings, and I understand that there is, that there's some people want a fundamental change to the job description to make it an administrative position, which we as a board decided that wasn't the direction we were going to go. I hear Ms. Graff's comments about opening it up to others. I feel that this is a school district, so it should be someone with teaching experience doing this work. However, I think that this is, let's see who comes. We don't even know who's going to come here as a result of posting this description and who is going to be in front of us. And I think that if we don't receive a candidate that we feel is the right fit, then yeah, maybe we take another look at the job description. But I do feel that for reasons of being timely with this and getting somebody in this position, I feel that it's important to have this vote. Hopefully it'll go through, and then we, if we don't get the candidates we want, we can take it from there. I think that to the comments about, I appreciate the comments, the very well thought out and research comments with regard to literacy, and I don't feel that that's what this position is for. I feel we are doing a lot of great work now in the district with literacy, and I feel that if we are also going to maybe tie our hands if we put more qualifications onto this position than what we have, because then we'll really be looking at a very specific subset of candidates. So for those reasons, that is why this is on the agenda tonight. I don't really think there's a lot of benefit in delaying a vote or tabling it, just because I don't know what other space there is to modify the description. I think we could look at the current bullet points of qualifications, and I think we could maybe recategorize them in a way that puts them in an order, that this is about, building, development, or, create categories for the job, for the different bullet points, and make it a more comprehensive document so that someone receiving it can understand it a little bit more clearly. But I really don't, I feel we're at a diminished returns here of delaying this vote. So those are my comments.
I would like to speak also. I do agree with Ms. Alston. I think we have the education committee meeting. When we have a post, a job description, I really don't want to have something that has measurable goals already set into a job description. You should give that person 30, 60, 90 day, have them be able to create the goals and focus by gathering information from each of the areas and stakeholders involved. They come and present to us, to the education committee, then to us, about where their focus is, because that's the whole point of it, that this is a new position. So to give them measurable goals off the bat is, I think, us basically telling them how to do every piece of their job. And I don't think that's what the point is for this. I also understand definitely the focuses that we have here that we're talking about tonight, like Liz said. But that is exactly why we go to education. We talk and we share our emphasis on literacy and discuss the important parts that we want to do for belonging. Belonging is so much. I think that's why it's hard for us to grasp one common thread way. And this is good. We see so much that we want belonging umbrella to be. So with me, I say we move this forward, give us an opportunity to really interview the people that we want to be in this position, and let's get this in place. Any other comments? Ms. Perdue.
I just want to add, and I'll go back to Ms. Alston. I think for all the reasons that you named, just because I know you worked on this with the team in ensuring that we could have this job description. And I think last week when we sat here, there were a few things asked for, right? And I think when we left this meeting, it was under the impression that some of that could be done, right? And to come back when the board in its entirety is asking for some changes that seem feasible and not have it done is almost to the point that the board is not being heard. And I think that's what it is. I don't think the board don't support this position, but the board recognized that there's information in here that maybe is not going to get us the right candidate that we're looking for, because this is the third time we will be posting this position. And I think that's where it is. I appreciate everyone that sat on there to review this, and I think the full board has reviewed it. But last week, when we discussed it at a public forum, there were things that were asked that I thought were minimal ask. And so to get that back and it not be done is just, to me, it's like, well, what is the work of the board when we are saying, can we have these things? And I think, yeah, like you said, maybe it's just delaying it, but it's also, if the week wasn't enough, like, when is it going to be done? Is it going to be done before the job is posted? And how would the board be able to say, how it was done is not the way I support this position? And so that, to me, I think that's where the struggle is, because it was said, and it was like we actually had identified who can help support us to categorize it. And it came back, and we had 2 minor modifications and nothing with the categories yet. And I support this position. I sat here from the beginning to support this position, and I just don't understand why we couldn't have it categorized in a way that if I were to pick up as an applicant, I can see what the job is asking for me. I can probably see already how I could serve Methacton and Methacton families in a better position with this job, and then feel like I can apply to this job instead of looking at it and being able to say, I don't really understand what this job, well, maybe I'll just throw my hat in there and see if they'll pick me, and then I may come and I may not be the best person for the job. So I do want to say, I just want to say, I feel, at least from the perspective of our discussion last week and today, I think that's where that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, I totally, sorry if I may respond, I totally hear what you're saying, and I feel like the revised job description that came back was too, it just was cut too much. It cut too many things. There were items that were key to the position that were missing from that revised, and so I think there was an attempt at a revision that was not, that was really not acceptable. So that is why we left it here. So, I mean, because what I heard was definitely about the certification to speed that up, and that was added, and was the removal of the special ed experience, and that was done, and that was easy. And as far as the other ones go, yes, I would have also liked to seen it categorized as asked for, and that just didn't come forward. So, you know, if those categories are important, then we can table so that it looks like that we can present it in a more attractive way to a candidate, or we can, as long as we are comfortable with the core responsibilities, we could vote and say pending the recategorization of the core responsibilities. We could do something like that as a compromise.
Ms. Shonda?
I want to add to Ms. Perdue's comments. I still don't think a job description should list 25, 26 bullets for core responsibilities. There should be an overall goal that addresses the, overarching responsibilities of this role. And then under that, as job duties or whatever you want to label it, then you can have your 26, well, like, we want you to do this, we want you to do X, Y, and Z. I just think presenting this as it is comes off, if I were an applicant looking to do this work or interested in this position, I'm looking at all of these bullet points that are being presented to me as core responsibilities, and it comes off as there's no real focus or direction or vision of what exactly it is that we're looking to accomplish. So yes, I would like,
So anyone else? Mrs. Thiel, do you want us to take a vote and then we just see where we are? Go ahead, Ms. Thiel, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to clarify some of the statements that I said and some of what I'm saying, not to debate, but just to clarify my message. And some of what is, one of the reasons why I shared the data or even a piece of the data, which is public facing, anyone can see it, tonight, is because during the many conversations, the months of conversation, one of the things that was said was that some of this data is hard to collect because, if we're working with we're trying to look for someone who can help us with our climate and our culture and get at the bullying that gets reported all the time, or get at the harassment or the racist comments that are made. Well, is it reported accurately? Is it not? Like, getting at that data has been kind of difficult to discuss and to see if we're getting all of the data that exists, if it's being reported accurately, or if it's not. So that's the first thing. When we do have state testing data, that does indicate a need for this position. It does indicate that that there are inequitable areas of the district that cut across race, financial ability, and disability. And disability can be any disability that is labeled a disability, right? So that's the first thing. Second, when I discuss literacy and the science of reading and the science of learning that cut across all content areas, I'm not saying reading specialist certification. I'm saying a knowledge of the science of reading and science of learning, which can be very different. There are free online training programs that someone can work through in order to build their knowledge of structured literacy so that they can see how it affects everyone. And structured literacy affects the success of all students in every content area. And I know we're doing great work as a district, But it's not like, okay, we hired Schools Cubed and we're done. It is a huge, huge job, and it takes a lot of effort and timing. And when it comes to a position that is working on belonging, which should discuss the impact of belonging on curriculum, including all parts of curriculum, how are all of when you look at the data, are our students succeeding and performing equitably across the board? I just showed some data that says they're not. How about some of the honors rubrics? Are those equitable for all types of learners? These are conversations I would hope this person is part of. If they're part of that conversation, I want them to understand. They don't have to be certified as a reading specialist, but they should have a foundational understanding of a work and a priority that our district is doing, since we're going to pay for another person, another position. So from a financial perspective, I think it is smart for us to include that type of knowledge in this position. But that's because that is something I find is fundamental in education and success for all students. Regardless, I think there needs to be more, I would love to see something that gets someone with more data analysis application.
Any other comments or questions? All right, let's do a vote on this, and this way I think we can figure out where we move forward with the next. All right, so may I have a motion to approve? All right, sorry. I apologize. Okay, all those in favor of motion 10D5, please raise your hand so I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all those against. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then all those against. I just want to see your hands again. 1, 2, 3, and all those abstaining. All right, 1. So motion does pass 5, 4, 3 against, 1 sustaining. Thank you. We're going to move now to curriculum and programs.
Thank you, President Cancro. Moving on to curriculum and programs, we do have a number of additions to the agenda this evening. They're all educational service agreements. I'll read them, each one of them. Approve the educational service agreement in terms for student 342023 with special language in terms of the agreement drafted by the district solicitor. Item 2, approve the educational services agreement in terms for student 280331 with special language in terms of the agreement drafted by the district solicitor. Item 3, approve the educational services agreement and terms for student 290361 with special language in terms of the agreement drafted by the district solicitor. Item 4, approve the educational services agreement and terms for student 280341 with special language in terms of the agreement drafted by the district solicitor. Item 5, approve the educational services agreement and terms for student 290022 with special language and terms of the agreement drafted by the district solicitor. And item 6, approve the educational services agreement and terms for student 250133 with special language and terms of the agreement drafted by the district solicitor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve all items listed under curriculum and programs as presented? Ms. Cleary, may I have a second? Mr. Winters, any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Thank you. Policy, we have no items for policy this month. So I'll move on to other. May I have oh, sorry, Dr. Zerbe, other. Go ahead, would you like to make a statement?
Yeah, the under 13 other, 13C1, approve the 2025-26 goals as attached, and the under 13D, transportation, approve the following drivers as part of the transportation employee roster. William Sopik.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve all items listed under other as presented? Mr. Winters, may I have a second? Sorry, Ms. Perdue. Any comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Alston.
Just calling it goals, are these the strategic plan goals? I mean, I'm reading the goals. Is that what they are? They're part of the strategic plan?
No, these are part of the superintendent and assistant superintendent goals for
Okay.
2020, and with the board focus.
Okay, can we just specify that's what they are on the agenda?
We can
Thank you.
modify that, yep.
Everyone accepts those modifications as stands. All right, any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor with the modifications? All those against? All right, motion carries 9-0. All right. Dates for board members' calendars. The upcoming board member meeting dates are listed on the agenda and also on the Methacton website. Do we have anything for old or new business? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to courtesy of the floor. The board will now take comments on board action items. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on matters that are to be decided upon as outlined on the agenda. The board asks that you keep your comments at 3 minutes or less. The Board of School Directors may choose to respond to matters following the conclusion of the comments on board action items. And you could submit your questions by email.
Just so you know.
Did I miss something here?
This is courtesy of the floor.
Oh, courtesy
They're
of the floor.
not required. So unfortunately, the script that we're reading from is not correct. So these are any comments of business that would come before the board, but not necessarily is a matter on the agenda this evening.
I do apologize. I do apologize.
No, there's no apology. That's
okay.
That's my fault.
Apologize for reading a script.
Comments from courtesy of the floor.
It's all,
And you have 3 minutes or less.
It's all scripted.
Or you could email information at
just make sure you say
methacton.org.
sorry when you cut me off.
I am very sorry. I will do that now.
Jim Malik, Worcester. For Che and Mr. Winters, it's 61 to 118K plus bennies, right? So probably another 30 grand in benefits on top of that. Somebody quote me these studies you're talking about. Just to say, oh, I got a study. Quote the studies for us. We'll look it up and see if what you're saying is true. Why the abstention from Ms. Perdue? She's got to explain that to all of us. And I heard some people talking about this position. Have them come in and determine what they want to do? No way. You know, you can't have people just come in, get a salary, and just do whatever they want. It's not going to work. The renovation. How much money for each of those design phases that they showed up there? You gave us that for the new high school. Didn't see it up there. Have you performed any classroom efficiency and utilization studies at all? Recent for the high school, so you know whether you need classrooms, how many got open? Have you done it? Because according to my calculations, you got 25 to 30 empty rooms here. And you have a enrollment projection that shows your enrollment's going down 1 to 200 students in the next 5 to 10 years. That's another 5 to 10. You got 35 classrooms here that are empty. That's got to come into the consideration of spending $400 million. I didn't hear anything about it. So you need to do that study. You don't need the bank of classrooms because you got 35 empty ones. Now, how about this for an idea for your admin situation? Put the admin over in Arcola. 60% occupied. Put it over there. No lease, no problem, and you open everything up. Didn't even look at that option. That's a cheap option. You have to build a thing. But nobody's thinking. Everybody's like, let's just spend the money. What do we need a fitness center for? The taxpayer's going to subsidize somebody? It's like Planet Fitness here at Methacton. We're going to subsidize the public to come in and use a fitness center. Then you create your own problem because now you got it next to the building and you got to now spend more money to create wall on and off. Stupidity. Stupidity with other people's money. The public forum situation. I heard, we're going to notify email blasts. They don't go to us. Students, teachers, parents, administrators. Same thing with the Facebook stuff, right? What about us? That's what I'm talking about. You don't include us. There's no inclusion of the people paying for it. So you need to think about that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Again, good evening. I'm Winnie Hayes, and I apologize for forgetting the rules, but it's been a while since I was on the board. First
Just
of all,
state your...
Dr. Winnie Hayes, Worcester.
Thank you.
Okay. So it's a pleasure to hear the kind of debate that just went on about this position. It was a robust debate. A lot of issues were brought up, and I appreciate that. I was disappointed in the outcome. So I'm drawing from a background as an educator. I've taught at University of Maryland, Emory University, and University of Pennsylvania. And I'm also a former small business owner. So I've had something to do with job descriptions. And I have to courteously disagree with you. A job description really should define what the core responsibilities are. You're right, 25 is way too many. You've got to really zero in. You can't really wait until you hire somebody and then let them figure out what the job should be and what the outcomes should be. Yes, I don't think you have to define every little bitty goal, but you have to have a purpose that's clear to people, and you have to have an overarching goals that are going to guide that person, because this is real money. It's going to cost us with benefits in upwards of $100,000 to $140,000. So it's an important role. Now, let me clarify something. I said at the outset, I'm not pro-DEI. I'm not pro the way it's been exercised. I'm not against inclusion. I'm not against diversity. Equity, equality of opportunity is how I would define it. But I think that comes with a lot of baggage now, and you've got that wording in here and you've defined it that way. And I guess the real question I'd ask the board is, what problem are we trying to solve with this position? Is it bullying? Is it harassment? Are those the big problems? If that's the real problem, then that should be at the heart of what this is about and how you're going to measure success. So I don't want to use up all my time. Those are just comments, and I would ask you to really step back as you advertise this. Don't pick somebody that you just like. It's somebody that's coming with skills to help you solve the problem that you're trying to solve with this job. And I didn't hear that here in the outcome. Okay, about what we heard in terms of the plan. Again, thank you for really caring about our students and our community. I do agree with Jim. I don't always, but you've got to advertise this to the broader community. People who don't have kids in the district, people who've never had kids in the district, seniors, it has to be advertised broadly because they don't go to the website regularly. They don't get the email blast, and that really has to happen. Questions I have, real quick questions.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay, I'll try to write out all those questions.
Please do, if you can.
Okay.
You could do at information, or you just email the board and we'll be able to read them for your
Okay,
review.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Erica Sabinski, Audubon. So we've used the word belonging a lot tonight, good, bad, tired of hearing it. But I've come here tonight along with my 15-year-old because we would like the board's help and some direction as to where we should go with a request that we have. So I hope this is the right time to do this. So we would like, particularly apropos first day of school, to help kids feel like they belong. And we feel like a key way to do that is that when the teachers get their rosters, they know what name to use for these kids. So sure, there's kids like mine who have chosen a name that more closely aligns with their gender than their one their mom gave them when they were born, because I didn't know any better. However, there's also kids who use a name because they're a junior, so they use their middle name, or they have a nickname, or they have a really long name and they use a shortened one, or for whatever reason, they have a name other than the one that's going to be legally on the roster for them. And we think it would be great if we could work with the administration to figure out how maybe we can add a field into the database, or what we can do so that when teachers get that roster, they know what to call those kids, so those kids feel like they belong and they're recognized. So that when a sub shows up, those kids, again, feel like they belong and they're recognized. So that someone isn't calling out for Richard, 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 and Rick does not recognize to answer. Or someone gets outed because they're new to the school and no one knows that they're a trans child. But it's not just a transgender issue, it's really an issue of everything. Someone is Adam Joseph and they go by AJ, or my brother, who was Brad Gregory Barry, never went by Brad a day in his life because Brad was my dad and Greg was my brother. But my dad actually wasn't Brad, he was Bradley, but he never went by Bradley. So he would forget to answer in school. So there's so many reasons that kids would have an alternate name, and simply by adding a column to those rosters, those teachers can help the kids feel like they belong. And that has been the word that we've used so many times tonight for this new job description, is belonging. And I think if we can figure out how to do that, and you guys, I know you want to answer the question now, but if someone could reach out to us or just tell me where to reach out to, Ali and I would love to help figure out how to use that simple piece of information to help kids feel like they belong. My kid had the wherewithal to reach out to every teacher and say, please call me Ali. And this year we had teachers who did that. 2 years ago, they had a teacher who got that AJ was AJ the first day, took months and emails from me to call them Ali. So your new hire is gonna help work with that, but that list, that spot on the roster is also gonna help with that, because it's gonna say our district cares about this. Our district, again, wants our kids to belong. So that is why Ali and I have come tonight, is to see if, again, what committee we go to, who we go to.
Gosh, sorry about that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else for courtesy of the floor?
Good evening. John Andrews, Lower Providence. I have 9 items on my discussion for this evening, so I'm sure I'll be cut off with apologies. Regarding the renovation of the high school, you want a new pool and you wanted 8 lanes, whereas the existing pool that's had the leak fixed is 6 lanes. So obviously, there's a question of how many students go out for the aquatic sports. And if you have 8 students in a competition, and you have 6 lanes where you have to have a number of runs, so it takes longer. But you've gotten along all these years when I've never heard of a problem with only 6 lanes. So I think there needs to be some kind of a study done to understand the time involved in practices and competition, for instance, and the costs of 6 versus 8 lanes. I'm asking for a reasonable study rather than silence. We've heard nothing about auditorium capacity and features. We hear this evening that in terms of modular trailers, they've gone from 20 to 10. Or you could go to 0 if, for 1 or 2 years, you put the freshman class at Arcola. There are plenty of rooms there. I heard a comment that for arena replacement, it's impossible to build it without any explanation. We deserve an explanation. I had submitted the idea that a Farina replacement could be a separate standalone building at the Eagleville campus. Then we hear recently that the Lower Providence Township administrative offices, including the police station, will be moving to a building that the township bought. So that means to me that the township building is available. I don't know how many square feet it is, but even if it's 20,000 square feet, it might come with an affordable price. Regarding tearing down a whole building because on the second floor there are 8
I'm
small
sorry,
classrooms.
it's 3 minutes are up. I know.
I got to 5 of the 9, and I'm not the only one this evening who gets cut off, and it's a one chance of them, 2 chances per month for the public to provide assistance to the school district.
Well, the good thing in committee, in property committee, we'll be discussing it, so there is that other opportunity as well, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're stuck on 3 minutes.
Not me per se, but the school board direction. Thank you. All right, so any comments or questions based on courtesy of the floor? Yes, Ms. Graff.
Yeah, could the administration explain why the administration building can't be built as a standalone building without an associated educational building project? I know we talked about it last week, but I just want to make sure that's clear.
There's a law that prevents the use of public funds for such an activity to be done.
So the law prohibits...
And I'm sorry, I don't know the law.
essentially the construction of an administrative
Correct.
building without an
non-school-related.
educational requirements.
Correct, without a non-school building, yeah.
Okay. And then the other question, I guess I just wanted to clarify, and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, Dr. Sorgini, so if you don't, it's fine, but how much available space do we have at Arcola? We have an idea of what the administration space requirement is. I think 10,000 square feet was sort of a generic number, but do we have an idea of how much space is at Arcola, and could we potentially get that information for a future discussion? I don't know that I'm fairly certain there's not 10,000 square feet of open space at Arcola, but I don't know if we have space there.
We do have space there, and I think that would be something that we can provide to the board, because certainly if you're questioning that, we've been through a number of studies with that. We can certainly provide that data.
It would be great if we could have that in the assessment that Ms. Purdue asked for earlier around the cost of renting space, right? So we could look at our own buildings to see if there's space internally we could use. And then the last thing on the school sort of classroom usage, this is something I know we had talked about before. Is it possible to extract from the high school, when you just do a calculation of the number of students divided by X number of students in a classroom, that's not actually representative of the number of classes that are running at any given time throughout the day, because it doesn't account for the fact that we don't have the same number of students in every classroom. So there may be classes that have 12 students instead of 25, and those classes could be special AP courses, they could be electives like photography, they could be all kinds of things. Is it possible for us to extract from the scheduling tools that we use the number of classes that are happening at any given period throughout the day for, say, a historic look back of maybe 5 different semesters, and then see what is the average and maximum number of classes that are happening simultaneously at the high school? Does my question make any sense?
I certainly think that we can pull that information. I don't know if it's necessarily going to get you what you want, but I think what we should do, though, based on your original comment maybe a month ago when we talked about a study, is figure out how we best provide all of that information if it requires more information than what you're requesting at this point in time. But I think I understand what you're looking for, and we've started to have that conversation with the building principal. We're just not 100% sure how to do that properly. So we do need to, because it's not about counting up rooms, because we can do that, and we can tell you how many rooms, how many teachers at one time, but that creates a scheduling inefficient. It would create a scheduling challenge for us for all future years. And so we need to make sure that there's a set number of rooms that are available as part of the scheduling process, if that makes any sense. Because not every schedule runs the same way every year.
Right, that's why I'm suggesting a 5-semester look back that would tell you like what an average number is of classrooms that are in use at any time during the day, and then what's the maximum number of classrooms that are in use at any time during the day. And then that data for 5 different semesters would give you indication of what the average, what the historic look back has been, and then you could allow a certain amount of percentage for additional flexibility, right? That would just get you to a...
Yeah, that might be appropriate, but I think...
There's probably a better way. I just, off the top of my head, that's
Yeah,
what
and I think we want to talk to some experts that have done this type of work before, because there are firms that do this type of thing. Yes. And not that we're suggesting we should go out and get a firm, but we can certainly get some guidance as to what's the appropriate approach so that we know how to present information at the end so it can be understood by everyone.
Well, and I think
we have that on our list.
And the designs that we have talk about the number of classrooms added or lost in the design, and I think that piece is probably going to have to be included for purposes of finalizing a selection of design. So let's just get something moving.
No, that's an excellent point. And though our team discussed the reduction of 2 classrooms, so we have a response. They just didn't present that this evening, so it's a pretty simple response, but I'll leave them present it when it's time. But we do need to get the scheduling summary up for you guys.
All right, real quick, Ms. Clary.
Having trouble turning on the microphone. The question at the end tonight about the roster names on rosters for our students, can we assign someone to look into that and get back to them? I thought that was a really excellent idea, so yeah, I'm sure we all do.
I already motioned to our communications coordinator to get her email address before we left.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Winters.
Yeah, sometimes information is floated out as fact, and I just want to make sure, a spoiler alert, I don't believe, as a previous principal, or Dr. Zerbe, if you want to answer this, that we have 35 empty classrooms gathering dust balls at the high school. Is that fair to say?
And I feel like we did do a utilization study a while back, and I know Dr. Sergini actually presented on that. So I just think we could go back to some of our records on that we've done prior. Mr. Mursky?
Pertaining to the question on the study of 6-lane versus 8-lane pole, that was included in the presentation that we had at the working session last week, correct? At least the cost analysis of the 2 scenarios.
The cost analysis of the 2 scenarios, and then the pros and cons against that. We did not spend, I would say, a quality amount of time on that particular matter. So if the board so chooses, we can certainly bring that up. But it was just briefly mentioned, and we.
But it is included in the presentation that is available to the public on the website.
That is correct.
Okay. I would refer you to the last 3 pages of the presentation from last week.
Ms. Purdue?
I think most of the comments were captured and discussed by the board, so I do appreciate people following back up. It's just one, and I'll ask Dr. Zerbe, in reference to the public forum with the communication, can you speak on that just a little bit as far as how we're communicating and what demographics we're targeting?
Well, certainly we've already put some communication out, but primarily it's been through the email addresses that we have, and certainly on social media. I am looking for comments. I'm taking what you've shared with me this evening and any other comments by the end of this week, and we will make any necessary adjustments to not only prepare for how we communicate, but also how we're going to run the public forum.
And I know in the past we've actually done mailers also, but I think
we have, and the challenge with that is that we've also received feedback that we didn't get the mailers. So we've canvassed the entire district with the postcards. We spent, I'm going to say, upwards of like $8,000 to canvass everybody, and then we still get people coming there complaining that we didn't send it to them. And so one of the things that we've done in the past, and we're going to continue to do that, is we do reach out to our colleagues at Worcester Township, Lower Providence Township. They have separate, systems of communication. We ask them to send that information out. We'll continue to do that. It was a great suggestion here. I'm not sure who mentioned it, but being at the back to school nights, certainly, one of those falls on one of the back to school nights, but we can certainly do that on all the others. There certainly is an opportunity later in October, if we so choose to even do another open public forum if that is felt to be necessary. I just want to make sure that everyone knows we're trying to do all the things that we feel are appropriate to inform as many people as possible. This timeline right now is about as similar as the last time when we were doing the public forums, and we were. So I think we're still in the window of, if we wanted to do the postcards, we certainly can do that. It's just debatable on whether or not that's even an effective communication process. And certainly, we could do other things like newspaper, but those things, those get lost altogether in such a publication. So I'm looking for any feedback. I'd be glad to take that in and then, create a plan for the Friday memo to let everybody know where we're at. So I do appreciate the comments.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mrs. Alston. Ms. Alston.
Yes, just to share generally with the public some institutions and organizations, sources that people can look at. These institutions and organizations have academic research that shows how a sense of belonging correlates with greater student well-being and academic success, and some of those include the National Institutes of Health, the Journal of Educational Research, the School of Education and Professional Studies, the Institute of Education Science, Penn State College of Medicine, Villanova University, the Aspen Institute, Harvard University, and the MIT Teaching and Learning Lab.
Great. All right, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a moment to welcome our students, teachers and staff, and those who transport our children back and forth in our school district from K through 12. The best wishes for a successful school year. All right, let the school year begin, everyone. Can I have...
You already did.
All right, well, can I have a motion to adjourn? Yes, Mr. Winters and Ms. Cleary. Meeting is adjourned.